Will recent DFW elections stop the property tax gouging that is happening all across DFW and all across the great state of Texas? I've got an answer for you, and I'm going to get right to it. And the answer is no, it will not, because this was a primary election. This is an election where each party is gathering information. Of course, we're voting for candidates to get the nomination for the general election. I was talking to someone the other day that was like, oh, I didn't realize that. And that was not an unintelligent person. So just, quick heads up, these primary elections are about who is going to get the party backing, the party nomination for things like governor or comptroller and, different roles within the state government, different local representatives, state, Senate, Congress, House, all that kind of stuff. But there were also some issues on the ballot, and property taxes was a major one on the Republican side of the primary election ballot. There was some housing affordability stuff on one of the propositions on the Democrat side, so we can reference that. But primarily what we're trying to find out right now is anything actually going to be done about property taxes, which obviously directly impacts housing cost here in the Dallas Fort Worth area. My name's Todd Tremonti, and I run the Todd Tremonti home selling team, and we help people buy and sell homes hundreds of times a year, every year here in DFW. And obviously the taxing on those properties is a big factor when it comes to what are people willing to pay or what are people willing to accept when selling their homes. It affects the ongoing cost of a home. And one of the big arguments that's been made, certainly statewide, but especially here in DFW, as we have seen property values rise pretty significantly over the last really 20 years or so, basically the entire history of residential real estate in DFW, but pretty dramatically in the last 5 years, post-COVID especially. We've seen some tapering there. But all that to say, housing costs more in DFW than most people would like it to cost. And taxes are a big part of that. People from other states, if you're someone from out of the area considering making a move to the area, property taxes are significant here. Now, we don't have other taxes and local fees, so it tends to still be a place that's relative compared to other places, affordable, if not more affordable than equally as desirable places with the economies and the schools and the recreational opportunities. But did these elections impact our taxes? Not yet is maybe the best answer. So no, because these were primary elections. These were to determine the nominee or determine the issues that local government, local state, whatever, state, regional, and your most local government will pay attention to in the next legislative sessions or in the next few years. So for example, I'm just going to read the exact wording of the two specific property tax propositions. Proposition 1 for the 2026 Republican primary ballot props was, number 1, Texas property taxes should be assessed at the purchase price and phased out entirely over the next 6 years through spending reductions. No further explanation provided. So this was just a yes or no answer. And so really what we're doing here on the Republican side of the primary is we're saying, I want to make sure the people that get elected, the people that are in office, know what I care about as a registered Republican. Okay, so you're saying to your government leaders, I think this, and I want you to go take action on that. So in a way, for them, there's a little bit of polling that's happening here. It's like saying, hey, I would want this pushed forward, okay? It's not a guarantee that these things will happen because, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, you really can't ever, fully trust in politics that anything is going to happen as promised. Now, there are, in general elections, you can, those elections will determine budgets and outcomes and things like that. But I want to be clear. There was two propositions. The second one is stated this way. Texas should require any local government budget that raises property taxes to be approved by voters at a November general election. That has a lot to do with voter turnout. More people vote in the November general elections, basically saying more people need to see that this decision is being made, this proposal is being made, and more people need an opportunity to vote on whether a local government can increase property taxes. So that would be things like your cities. Sometimes it's hospitals, school districts, and things like that. So Those are what was proposed on the Republican side. Now, let me just say one more time. This is basically information gathering as far as I perceive this. So this will change nothing in the short term, but hopefully, depending on how the people spoke, our government leaders will respond to that and take action upon that. Again, this is party specific, so they still have to go figure out ways to work with, other parties. There's usually only two in the conversation, but there could be others, and enact actual change. Now, on the Democrat side, these tax proposals were not put forth, but what was at least mentioned there was Proposition 4 on the Democrat side was Texas should address the state's housing crisis and affordability and access in both urban and rural communities. So fairly broad there, but on the Democrat side, at least the information gathering was around should the state, which is a very general term, do something about housing affordability in really all areas and in both urban and rural communities. But if the question is our state government doing anything about property taxes? You could answer that a couple of ways. Yeah, they're doing something. They're gathering information. Certain candidates are making certain promises that they will cap or reduce property taxes. And at least the information that's being gathered is indicating that a decrease in property taxes would have to be countered by something else. And this information gathering proposal on the Republican side was to be dealt with by decreased spending, which I think we would all technically like those things. Republican, Democrat, Independent, whatever. We would all like lower property taxes and healthier government spending. Now, that's where the argument really starts, is who thinks which spending is healthy and unhealthy and good and bad. That's for our elected officials to work out, but you have a voice when you go cast your ballot. So that's the answer to the question. Nothing has changed yet. Your property tax amounts and rates haven't gone up or down yet. There was some changes a couple of years ago that was slightly positive for some people. But President Trump has proposed, or at least mentioned, capping and ending property taxes for seniors so that you wouldn't be burdened. You wouldn't be taxed out of your home. So there's a lot happening at all levels of government right now. State of Florida is making some really aggressive proposals to completely end property taxes. I don't know that Texas is really there yet on a serious note. There's some candidates that want to make it happen, and I'm not saying they're not serious. I'm saying I think we're a bit away from getting full approval on that sort of thing. So that's the issue. The issue is property taxes in Texas are between 2% and 3% for pretty much everybody. Property values are up, therefore taxes are up. And a lot of people would like the government to spend that money better, spend less of it so they could tax us less on our property. Some would say you can never fully own property in Texas because even if you have no debt and the house is fully paid for, you still have to pay those taxes or they will come and take your house. I would argue that's a pretty true assessment of things. So that's what's happening around property taxes in Texas right now. That's how that's going to affect DFW homeowners. Let's keep our eye very closely on that. We'll talk about that more on this show, on our channel, in our content going forward. And of course, we're talking about it every day with home buyers and home sellers in the Dallas Fort Worth area, because that's what we do here at the Todd Tremonti Home Selling Team is we help people buy and sell homes. We still guarantee to sell your home over the average price and under the average time, both. And we still guarantee to save you at least $5,000 throughout the purchase process of buying a home. Lately, we've been saving people $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 throughout the process of buying a home. You can find us online at toddtremontiteam.com. Wherever you're getting this content, audio or video, comment, leave us a review. Let us know what you would like to learn about these issues or how you feel about these issues. We'll be glad to discuss that with you or serve you in any way we can. We'll talk to you on the next one.